man. Okay, and I think that we are live now. Hi, everyone.
Hello.
So excited for today. I'm so excited to have there we go. Which side of the screen are you on? This is my lovely friend that I don't believe that we've done a live together, correct? Not yet.
Did we stream one time, like a long time ago? Was it like a relay stream and we only had like a short time for our one section? I feel like there was somebody else with us.
Yeah. Oh, I remember now. Okay. Yes, I do remember. So we have done this before, but I'm so excited to do it with her again. If you would like to introduce yourself, Autumn.
Yeah, so my name is Autumn, and I also do a little bit of writing and reading on my own channel. And today I'm actually going to be reading. I'm going to be reading my spooky book. It's called What Stalks Among Us by Sarah Hollowell. It's wild and terrifying, and I am really enjoying it.
I love that. The picture looks so nice and cozy.
Yeah, it's pretty bizarre, honestly. It's not the author's debut. She's written something else before. It's A Dark and Starless Forest.
That sounds familiar. Yeah.
It's interesting. It's like these two high school seniors skipped school and they were driving down the road and they walked into a corn maze and they're in like a never-ending loop in the corn maze.
Oh, it's one of those. I love those ones. Those ones are so fun. The never-ending loop.
And it's weird because they keep stumbling across like their own dead corpses and they're like, what is happening? It's kind of like a video game and it keeps resetting. It's wild.
That sounds very intriguing. And usually I've been trying to look for literature that is a little bit more of the horror genre that's unique and interesting, because I feel like so much horror, in my opinion, I know people love horror. It's one of the most beloved genres. And I totally understand why people love it. But sometimes I feel like I'm reading the same book over and over again. And I'm like, it's fun. I want something else too. And so that sounds so interesting to me, where I'm like, time lapse and loops. That sounds really cool.
Yeah, it's very unique. I don't know if I've ever read a horror quite like it. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that's kind of similar to it, but I've been really enjoying Geneva Rose. She doesn't write, she writes horror, but she doesn't write like this genre, like with this being YA thriller. She writes adult thriller, I believe. But yeah, I recommend it. I really like her books too.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for that recommendation. That is, I am always here for any sort of suggestion for any books that would, that people would suggest. There are too many books in this world to not read. So
exactly. I know. And it's like you want to get to all of them and somebody recommends you a book and you're like, oh, I really want to read it. And then, they'll ask you in a few weeks and it's like, have you read it? And you have 15 other books on your TBR and you're like, I'm getting to it. I promise.
I promise. I'm pretty sure I have like 4 books I'm in the middle of reading right now. I haven't read in like several weeks, but I'm in the middle of all of them.
Right. I'm so glad that you're somebody who can also read multiple books at once.
Yeah.
I've been told it's a superpower because I also do that. Like I can't just read one book. I have to have a whole bunch of different books going on.
I wonder if it has something to do with like mood reading too, because if I read only one book, sometimes I'm not in the mood to read a thriller. Sometimes I want something a little bit more light and easy to read. And other times I'm like really in the mood to really just get sucked into like a really deep plot. But I feel like that's the only way I could balance it. So usually I can't read 2 books of the same genre because I'm like, okay, separate out the genre.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's how you do it too, but.
Yeah. And I know it always has to be like different platforms. Like I can listen to an audiobook, I can have a physical book, and I can have something on my Kindle, but I can't do exactly like what you said, having like 2 in-depth fantasy books going on at the same time.
Right. You're like, we're gonna get too confused. We need to do it one at a time.
Right.
And like we'll be good.
Exactly. Like we have to, not do both at the same time because we want to enjoy both. But
absolutely. Well, I'm so glad that a couple of people were able to hop on. I know that it's always tricky when you first like start your sprint to see like who exactly is going to be here and not, especially if people don't know about the sprint until they show up. But I'm so happy that you're here, Amanda. Thank you so much for watching and for coming and doing sprints with us. So excited. All right. I'm trying to think of a good time frame. Usually, what I do is I do 15 minutes for the first time because I think that sometimes 20 minutes can be a really long time at first. That's just my opinion, but I am totally open and willing to do longer stretches beforehand
I
if
am
you would like to.
I am fine with whatever. I'm just going to be sitting here reading, so I will do whatever works for everybody else.
Sounds good. All right, perfect. We will start in. We'll start in for just 15 minutes doing reading, writing, honestly, any other creative project that you want to do. I know that I've listened to so many writing sprints and just ended up like doing some art or cleaning my house. I feel like it's nice to just kind of do whatever you need to do in the moment. So, but
Absolutely.
of course, reading and writing is always like one of our favorite things to do. So, whatever you're going to be doing, we're going to be doing it for the next 15 minutes. Let me see how I can share my screen. I'm also going to apologize in advance. Apparently, when I focus really, really deeply, I have really bad RBF. I've learned this about myself. I watched back my video the last week that I did it, and I could not believe how angry I looked. So I promise I'm not angry. I'm just really, really focused.
Well, I guess that'll be a great, determination for, oh wow, she has that face. She must be really getting into whatever she's doing.
She looks like she's about to like scream at me. She's on a roll.
Right?
I
I
love
love
it.
it.
All right. I hope I'm doing this right. Bear with me, guys, as I try and figure out StreamYard because it has gotten so fancy since we were talking about this before we went live. It's gotten so fancy since we have done this
Yeah.
like a few years ago.
Yeah, it has been a while since I streamed. I honestly can't remember the last time I went live.
And so, you know what? You're doing spectacular. We're doing spectacular. So I
Right.
would not have guessed that it had been a while. Let's see.
Look
Okay.
at that.
I think I'm going to test out one more thing. Make sure you can't. Okay. Yeah. That looks good. All right. So I am going to work on part of my fantasy short story anthology. And I think that after the break, I would love to talk a little bit more about some of the projects that we're working on, some things that we're really excited about, different books that we've been reading and love. I guess just to keep that back of mind once we jump back in. But I'll get that timer started for us, and that is starting now. I don't know if any of you guys heard that alarm bell ring. It's probably a little bit, so we start over that as well.
I did not hear it, but I was watching.
Perfect. Okay. I'm glad to hear that. That's what I was hoping for. Oh man. How did your reading go?
It was great. I'm on chapter 18, I think. So I'm like
Ooh.
65% of the way through. So, it's like it's a good part.
Absolutely. That's a nice spot to be in for reading. You get the plot enough that you kind of get what's going on and you can enjoy it a little more.
Yes, yes. And you're still missing a few pieces of like the why things are happening and like, can we fix it? So I'm like, I'm really happy right now. I'm enjoying this read.
Oh, I'm so glad. Oh, that's fun. Laura said it's the middle of a high scene, which I 100% agree. It's the fun part.
Absolutely.
Also,
How did you do, Jasmine?
oh, I did. No, you're totally good. I'm pretty good. I do this fun thing since I'm a pantser. I think that's how you say it. I always say it wrong. I do this fun thing where I write down what I want the scene to do in shorthand, and then I put it away and do it later. And so I went back to one of those scenes and I actually did string it out and write it a little bit more specifically. So that was really great that I got that portion of it done. So I would say that I didn't get all of it done in 15 minutes, but I would say I got a good amount through. So successful. It's a fight scene. So
those are always fun to write.
yes, they're so fun and they're so hard because I'm like, I can see it perfectly in my mind. How do I describe this without showing it? Like, I don't know. It's definitely a skill that needs to be learned, I think. And I don't know if I'm quite there yet, but we're working on it.
Absolutely. You'll definitely get there. Those do take time. They're fun to write and then like rinse and repeat like so many times, but
I like that, rinse and repeat.
Yeah.
I'm going to use that phrasing for later on. I love it. Oh my gosh. So I guess I'll get back to what I was going to say that Laura mentioned. I'm getting ready for a job interview to work at Barnes and Noble. That's sweet.
Sounds amazing.
That sounds like so much fun. I mean, you just get to go be at Barnes and Nobles every day. It's incredible.
Yeah.
I'm still stuck at 75,000 in this draft. Hopefully I can get in some words tonight. That's so many words. That's incredible. I'm trying to think back. I guess I have written some manuscripts that are longer than that, but that's a pretty good amount.
Absolutely.
That's a full-on story. How many words do you feel like your manuscripts usually are when you do like beginning to end? We could even say like, I guess second draft, maybe first draft. What is your go-to?
Yeah, I would say my go-to for writing fantasy would be between like maybe 65,000 words for the first draft. And I always have plans to beef them up, but it always makes sense in my mind to underwrite my first drafts because I'm so afraid to overwrite and then have like 100,000 words and not know how to handle it. So I always try to keep it concise.
Right. So are you just nervous about like killing your darlings? Like you wouldn't want to do that if you had to. So you're like, I'm going to hold back for just a second.
I do love killing my darlings.
Oh my God.
I do.
Okay.
I think what I try to focus on more, like with my first drafts, is trying to get like the plot and the characters out. I don't focus a lot on like the world building or trying to be really like, poetic or frilly with the words. It's rough. Like it's a very, very rough first draft.
As it should be.
Right. And I feel like sometimes there are some scenes like how you had said with the scene that you went back to, you had just like quick, like, this is what I want to happen. These are the interactions. And this is like what I want, like the main purpose of the scene to be. And then I move forward. That I do that quite often.
Yeah. So would you consider yourself also a pantser then?
More of a planter. So
Okay, yeah.
I have to have an outline, but I'm okay with off-roading it sometimes. Sometimes we have to.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that that's something that I didn't really realize was something that was so important. Even if you are what is it, like a planner, I think is what, yeah, if you are a planner or a planter, I feel like that's the best one is planter, a little bit of both, kind of like moderate a little bit. But even people that I have heard are planners, I'm not a planner at all. So I don't know. This is just what I have heard from other people, but there kind of needs to be a little bit of like still some flexibility where it's like, okay, I did write the whole outline. I know what's going to happen, but I'm open to changing my mind. And
Absolutely.
I like that frame of thinking. It's less rigid because planning for me seemed so rigid initially. So I'm learning.
Well, and I think too, like that is perfect what you had said. And I think I know sometimes with me when I'm plotting out the outline and just trying to get like the bullet points before I, get myself going, when I'm flying. I know sometimes when at least for me, when I'm doing the outline, what makes it different from like the actual drafting is now like I'm trying to put those pieces together and I might realize that what I originally thought, like those pieces don't fit. And so instead of me trying to just kind of go off of my outline and be like, oh, well, I spent so much time working on this outline. I like to embrace like the chaos sometimes and just be like, go for it. Like do a little bit of the off-roading, especially with a first draft or a zero draft, like, whatever anybody calls like that very first draft, just to, experiment. Because I feel like sometimes I come up with my best ideas when I'm like, writing and I know what I think I want the scene to be, but then I'm like, oh, that might not work. And then something else pops up and I'm like, oh, let's just try this. And I feel like sometimes those best ideas to get out of like those plot holes just come to me spur of the moment. But I know every writer's different.
Yeah, no, I do love that. I love the mix of like we're not going to go in it, completely chaotic, but we are going to leave room for possibilities, I guess is a good way to put it.
It is. That's a perfect way to put it.
I think, and for such a long time, I was so against outlining, even though everyone was like, you have to outline. It's a really, really good for your story. I've matured to the point where I agree. I agree that it is good to have an outline. It's good to have a better idea of where you are taking your story. But then also you don't have to be too hard on yourself about it. Because I think that's what I couldn't get over initially. I'm like, but then I want to have fun. I want to have fun.
Right. And it should be fun. When you're writing a story, creating worlds, you want to have fun. And while plotting is great, and I do think, a lot of people should start their stories out like at least plotting. I know that some people, have to plot out every little intricate thing because that is how they work. That's how their stories, get to the best that they can. But then you also have people that are like, I just sit down and I just decide whatever's going to happen. That just happens that day. And I think it's so important to realize that every writer's writing style is different, and like that is totally fine. And I think that's why it's so intimidating when you first start writing, because you hear people being like, don't pants, or you hear people say, don't plot, and you're like, well, what do I do?
Yeah, there's so many rules.
Right? I just want to write and have fun.
That's all I want to do. I just want to make friends and have fun and write. That's it. But honestly, for the most part, though, like the authortube community is incredible and amazing. And I think the thing is, it comes from a good place. I've noticed, like, no one's ever saying like, "Oh, you're doing this wrong. Do it my way." But they're telling you all the things that worked for them. And you just take it so seriously because you're like, I mean, like they're amazing. So of course I should listen to them. But you really got to just go on your own road with that. I feel like. Okay, YA fantasy here, 110K for the first draft. Holy smokes.
Amazing. I'm so proud of you, Amanda.
Oh my gosh. That is amazing. I I feel like mine are kind of, I'm trying to think of what my basic word count is for books. I feel like it's between 70 is my go-to. Like it's slightly a little bit longer than what a general, like, like 50,000 or 60,000 a word draft is for a first draft that a lot of people make as a goal. I think I write a little more, but I also really hate killing my darlings.
So you don't like killing them.
I don't like it at all. If anything, I love adding more, and then I add too much. I think I have one book that is 100. It's in a trilogy though, so it's like the last book of the trilogy. So part of me is like, okay, like those are usually a little bit longer, so I'm more okay with that being longer. But I think that there was one scene that I was like, nothing. I mean, it's a cool scene, but it's not necessary. Like it does show character development, but there are other ways that I show character development here. So I technically don't need it, but I still have it because I'm like, I want to put it somewhere. I don't know where, but somewhere.
Absolutely.
Yeah, just save it just in case. So I know that from your more recent videos, you've been talking about starting in on I believe it's a first draft called Project Getaway. Is that the right one?
Yeah.
Okay, sweet. And it's a thriller. So I was wondering, I had a couple of questions about that. Is this your first time writing thriller? And if it is, what kind of gravitated you towards that genre, since you have done a couple of other different genres before?
Yeah, so it's my first time ever writing a thriller, like a novel. I've written some like smaller, like short stories that were more horror/thriller, but this is the first time I've ever attempted to write a thriller that's a novel. So it's been really fun, and I think a few of the main reasons why I wanted to switch genres, because I've been mainly like a high fantasy or like a cozy fantasy writer, but I wanted to dabble into something different, mainly because I am going back to school to get my master's, and I just can't.
Congratulations.
Thanks. Thank you. And I just don't have the mental capacity to like create intricate fantasy worlds and do all the other things in life. And that's not even saying, writing thrillers is any easier or anything like that. But, they take place in our world, so I don't have to worry about the physics of a different world or a magic system or anything like that. Yeah. So that's why I wanted to try something different. Plus, my last little cozy fantasy story I wrote has like a mystery, like a little murder mystery plot, like subplot. And I wanted to get experience writing more thrillers with like that kind of plot line. So I figured to just try to write something that is specifically that genre to get experience in it. And plus, I just love that genre in general. I am such a hoe when it comes to like horror. It's my language.
I love it. That needs to go on a t-shirt.
I'm a hoe for horror.
Yes. We'll make it happen. We'll make a t-shirt. It'll be great.
Right. Heard it here first.
People would buy that shirt.
They probably would. People buy a lot of things.
Yes. Absolutely. Oh, that's so exciting. That is really, really fun. And I like that you went into the a little bit more of the complications of doing, YA fantasies and world building, and how that can take a lot of energy and a lot of time, where you like have to figure out like what are the rules kind of thing. So I thought that was insightful as well.
Yeah. And I love fantasy, and I hope to one day have something that's worthy enough to be published in fantasy. I mean, it's years, like we don't even need to get excited about it. It's still going to be years away, but I just know right now I can't dedicate that time to those stories, but I still want to write. So I was like, you know what, let's just try something different.
There you go. Well, and honestly, if we're, as much as we would love to like live the dream immediately, I think that there is some wisdom in being realistic with yourself, and also putting not putting too high of expectations on yourself that will lead you to burnout.
Yes.
And it's a hard lesson to learn as a writer, because like it seems like all you want to do is just like reap the benefits of the story that you've just fallen in love with, but it almost makes it like more sweeter when it like continues to be a lot of time where you're like, hey, we got to get in the right headspace, we got to do this the right way. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen my way.
Right. So I agree.
I commend you for that, because that's not easy to do. So, but I'm glad you're still writing. I am excited to see what you do with this thriller, because that sounds very, very fun to write.
Yeah. So I'll keep you updated on it.
Absolutely. Hey, if you ever need beta readers, I've never been a beta reader before. Beta Rita. I have never beta read somebody's work before, so I don't know how experienced I would be in it, but I can do my darndest from being on a writer's perspective. So if you have anything that needs to be beta read, you can absolutely let me know. I'd be very interested in that.
That is great to know. I will definitely keep you updated.
Absolutely. I'm trying to figure out how to find beta readers. I'm like, do you just ask strangers? Is that what that is? Someone's like, I have so many, like, oh, I just sent it out to beta readers. I'm like, did you go on a website? Like a beta reader's website? I don't know how to find them.
You're like, where are they? I can't see them.
There are no beta fish in the sea. Like, I am trying to find them, but it's honestly my social anxiety that's talking. It's fine. Like, I understand that about myself. It's my own fault.
That is so funny. Honestly, I don't have an answer to that. I've never been to the point where I've needed beta readers.
Okay.
I'm trying to think if I could think of any like channels or anything like who have videos, of like their journey of trying to find beta readers.
Mm-hmm.
I think some people post on Instagram. I know I've seen people like post like beta readers wanted, and then they'll say, if you're specific, like if you're a reader that reads like horror or, romantasy or something like that, they'll be like, then this is for you. And then you like sign up on the sheet or something.
Okay, there you go. Lori gave a pretty good suggestion. I ask people on writer discords, so that's a nice go-to for sure. I didn't even think of that, so I'm glad that you mentioned that, because I'm a part of a couple of them that I got added to years ago. Yeah, there are a few discords run by authortubers. That's so great. I love that. I will have to look into that. Just shoot out does anybody want to be a beta reader, please? I'm scared.
You're like, I need help.
Please help me. And I want, like, it's the weirdest in between too, of like when you send out your work, half of me is like, I want you to tear me to shreds, because if you do, then the book is just going to become better. But then I don't want to send anybody my work, because I'm like, no, I'm scared.
It is scary.
This is a part of my soul.
It definitely is scary. And I feel like I've learned so much about my writing, getting somebody else's feedback, because, when we write a story, we instantly like fill in the blanks, like from, the little intricate parts. And sometimes those are missing from the story. And then when I've gotten like critique partner feedback and they're like, whoa, what's going on? You jumped from A to C, but where's B? And I'm like, you're right. B was up here.
I forgot to write that part down. So yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because we get so stuck in our own head with writing. So it's so nice to actually get somebody to have, like you said, that other perspective. That's the right attitude to have.
Right.
That attitude more.
For sure. And I definitely agree though. Sharing your work with somebody is scary, and I always I have some really good writing friends that I trust to give me that feedback, where they're not just gonna be like, oh, it's beautiful, it's lovely, hit publish. Like, they also want me to succeed. And like, those are the types of people that I want to read my work, because they're going to question my writing, or question like, the who, what, when, where, why, and how can we make this better? So I definitely think having a group of writing friends or reading friends, you know, if they read, if they're more on like the reading side than the writing
Yeah.
side. But having that group really does help because,
Yeah.
you know, they're trustworthy.
Yeah, exactly. They're trustworthy. They know enough about, like writing and reading of what exactly you're looking for.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are the best beta readers, the ones that give honest feedback and not, oh, it's great. Because I've tried to send it to just friends that I know that kind of read, but don't know much about writing. And they're like, yeah, it's good. I'm like, I know that's not true because I just wrote this.
Right, right.
Thank you, but
But you're wrong now. Like, thank you, but no.
thank you, but no. Exactly. Thank you, but no. I have so much fun doing lives with other people because we just get to talk about so much stuff. And I feel like it's so much more like of an enriching conversation. And because of that, I don't want to keep you too long. I know that it's 15 minutes until 3. Would you be okay doing another 15 or even 10? We could even do a 10 if you want. We could do a 15 or 10-minute sprint of reading and writing. Um, and then we can close out a little bit at there. I didn't realize that I wanted to talk so much, so I'm so sorry.
Oh, you're fine. Yeah, I'm good if we wanted to do a 15. That works for me.
All right. Well, the fifth, let's see. I'm going to try and reset. There we go. I kind of reset the timer there a little bit.
Perfect.
And now I have to get all technical and learn how to do stuff on the computer. There we go. Yeah, we'll do entire screen. Why not? Perfect. Okay. Yeah, we'll do just one last minute sprint. I am so glad that you are here, JC. I'm so excited. I'm so glad that you can hop on. So glad and grateful for all the people that have been able to be here today. Been spectacular. I know that I'm trying to get a little bit more into live, so I appreciate all the people that have been here for support. And with that being said, I will start the 15-minute timer now. Sweet.
Oh, it's kind of hard to hear you, Jasmine.
No.
Oh, there you go.
Okay, is that better? Okay, good.
Yeah.
All I asked before was, did you run into any plot twists?
There was another interesting thing that happened. They just saw themselves in another time loop, and they were like, this is the first time this has happened. That's not really a spoiler because it keeps happening over and over again, but that was the first time they witnessed seeing themselves interact with each other, but those other parts of them didn't see them interact. And I'm like, oh my God.
This sounds very, very intriguing to me.
I really like this book. Yeah.
Oh man. Okay. Well, I'll have to take a look and see if it's at one of my libraries or if it's on Amazon it's probably on Kindle too, right? I'm trying to be better about using my Kindle.
I couldn't imagine it wouldn't be.
Cool. Okay, good. I feel like people are pretty good about also putting out ebooks whenever they write, even like if they're self-publishing. They're like, don't worry, there's an ebook. We got you.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think you would enjoy it. Yeah.
All right, let's go. As much as I do love a cozy read, don't get me wrong. I love a cozy read, but a spooky read is also fun for this season.
Oh, absolutely. Oh my gosh. When I was just reading like the first like 25 pages of this book, it was right before bed and it was about like 9 o'clock. It was terrifying. And I don't get scared easily, but it frightened me and I was like sleeping with one eye open.
That's hard to do in a book because I feel like in a scary movie, it's so visual. So it's so much easier to like kind of suck people into that scary environment because they can jump scare you with the crazy sounds and stuff. And books can't do that. So it's really good if you're freaked out a little bit in the beginning.
Yes, it's brilliant writing. I just think that the author did a fantastic job, especially with like the imagery. With like the first 25 pages that I had read, there was like, oh my gosh, there was this one scene. It was just crazy how well done the eeriness was. And I'm like, this is going to be a great book.
Good stuff. I almost love the eeriness more than like the crazy, like, I guess like, like horror butcher kind of stuff, because eerie, there's so much suspense. And I feel like suspense is so much scarier than a lot of other stuff that's really intense, where it's just kind of like, it happened, say la vie. But suspense, you're like, when's it gonna happen?
Yes, you're exactly right. And I think because suspense makes your mind kind of go in every direction where you're like, this could happen, this could happen, this could happen. And it's just like, what's gonna happen?
It's the unknown.
I think that's what it is. And I think that's why I love like horror, like reading horror so much, because you get those suspense feeling and you're just like, oh my goodness, I don't know if I like it or not. But I do.
And you're almost relieved when something happens. You're like, oh, finally, okay.
Right? I can breathe.
The bad guy came out from around the corner and now he's chasing me. Cool. Okay.
Right.
Same page.
Right. Another book I would totally recommend. I don't know if you like audiobooks, but
some audiobooks, yeah.
This one audiobook, I was able to get it through the Libby app through the library.
Okay.
It's called The Stranger Upstairs by I gave my mom the book, so it's not over there. But I can't remember the author's name. Lisa Matlin.
Upstairs. Okay.
I think it's Lisa Matlin. That audiobook is so good, but also the writing it's so creepy. There's a scene. This happens early on, so it's not a spoiler. I promise. So she bought this. She is like an influencer, but she bought this haunted house, and she was going to flip it. And so she's home alone with her cat, because of course, and it's midnight, and her cat like is pawing at her face and is like meowing. And she's like, what's going on? And so she follows her cat, and then her cat sits underneath the attic stairs and it's just looking up. And I'm like, I can't handle this. And I was listening to the audiobook on my headphones as I was folding laundry and I was home alone. But then they came home and I didn't see or hear him. And he was like, hey. And I was like, wow. So you can't do that when I'm listening to a horror.
You can't be doing that. You can't be sneaking up on me. That's so funny. That's
but
amazing.
I do recommend that book for like the suspense and the eeriness, because that's what we were talking about. I recommend that book for another spooky, weird book.
I'm so excited. These are such good suggestions, and I've never heard of these books before. So this is what I'm looking for. Like, I don't know any of the books that I've heard of before because I'm suspicious about them being basic. No offense. I'm so glad it's your cup of tea. I'm so happy for you. I'm a little and like slightly different, like eerie, because but I am so stoked for those suggestions. Very excited about them.
Absolutely. Well, and if you ever get to them, you'll have to let me know your thoughts, because they're so far, I haven't finished this one, but it's weird. And then The Stranger Upstairs is also very weird.
It's a weird one. Oh, I love it. I feel like I prefer a weird book over one where I'm like, this wasn't even just scary. This was just disturbing. This was sick. Those those aren't my absolute favorite, but I understand why people love them. I can understand, like, okay, it's cool to like think about, deep dive into those thoughts and into those, like different types of themes. It's very fascinating. So totally 100% respect the horror community that also loves that. Like, I commend you. You are very deep thinkers, and I love that about you.
Absolutely, for sure. There's definitely an audience. I just don't know if I'm I gotta be in the mood for it, like the gore, because I get a little grossed out sometimes with too much gore.
I agree. Absolutely. That's so fun. Well, thank you so much for joining me here. And good luck on your interview. You'll do great. I am so stoked for you to be working at Barnes & Noble. Sending all the positive vibes from the universe for you getting this job. Really spectacular. All right. And I got another spooky suggestion. So this is great. I love all of the suggestions. Always give me book suggestions. Absolutely. I will read them eventually.
Right. We talked about that earlier.
Not quickly, but eventually.
Right.
I love it. All right, everybody. I hope you have a spectacular rest of your Saturday. Thanks so much for joining us here today. And I hope to see you soon for all of the other sprints that I have coming up. I am crossing my fingers that I will be able to do this a little bit more consistently on Saturdays, because that seems to be working out pretty well, like Saturday afternoons. I would love to do some more of these. Before we go, do you have anything that you want to plug in? Anything that you want to talk about? Any sort of like video projects, your YouTube, any of that sort of stuff here?
No, this was just really nice, really fun to get back into streaming. So thank you for having me. I really did have a lot of fun. This was great.
Yay, I'm so glad. All right, guys. Have a great weekend. Thank you so much, and bye.